My name is Emmett Keefe, and I'm the founder of Insight Ignite, our digital acceleration program at Insight Venture Partners. I've been a Formula One fan since 1995 when I went to my first race in Montreal, where Jean Alesi won his first race and Ferrari won their first race in 20 years. As I've gotten deeper and deeper into technology and ultimately into digital transformation, I realized that there are uncanny similarities between what it takes to win in the world of digital and what it takes to win world championships in Formula One. Everybody in Formula One knows who Ross Brawn is. He's won 8 Constructors World Championships and 8 Drivers' Championships, and probably knows more about the leadership side and the technology side of Formula One than anybody in the business. We're going to sit down with Ross and hear from his point of view about the sport being data-driven, design-driven, agility-driven, and ultimately what it takes to win world championships. And I think we'll start to see how it's very similar to the world of digital.
Formula One car is an amazing combination of technologies, and to create those technologies, they're nearly all done in-house. I think to get the response times that teams need, to keep the designs confidential, to have unique designs, then the big teams create substantial groups of engineers. The development never stops. So you're designing the next car before you finish the season, and that car appears over the winter in testing, and often that configuration that appears in testing never races, because by the time they get to the first race, 6 weeks after they start testing, the car will have changed already. And there'll be several major upgrades during the season that all the top teams do, and that will be new bodywork, new wings, new suspension systems. But almost every race there is a change in the car spec. If you look at a activity like a pit stop, and a good pit stop now is sub 2 seconds, which is incredible. The car stops, all 4 wheels changed, and it's out there in less than 2 seconds. And that choreography was largely data driven, in that all the wheel guns now have sensors on them to know when they're engaged, what torque they're delivering, how the mechanics are responding. When I was involved, we had cameras from every angle looking at the actions of each individual and plotting how they could perhaps do something better. And it's a fascinating dynamic of the technology, of the engineering around the wheel change, and the individuals, the human element that has to match and produce that incredible say choreography of a 2-second pit stop. And when we were doing 3-second pit stops, 2 seconds seemed impossible. Now it's 2 seconds, who knows what's going to come. And then there's the strategic decisions. So we're looking at all of the information to decide perhaps what to do in the race, when to do a pit stop, when to tell the driver to push, when to tell him to take it easy. And it might be the brakes are wearing too fast. So you start to tell the driver to ease off, drive differently, approach it differently. A lot of this information now goes back to the factory real time. So there's a command center back at every major team where they're looking at this data real time, and they're in a more controlled environment to look at that sort of information. And some years ago we limited the number of people that a team could take to a race because we were running out of space. This information was so vital. They were building huge teams of engineers at the track, and for efficiency and other reasons we've now got a limited number of engineers at the track, but unlimited at the factory. So all that information gets piped back, and they're looking at it in the factory as well. To be truly competitive in Formula One, you have to have the agility and response rate to change quickly. And it can be for reliability reasons, or it can be for performance reasons. And teams are now even taking 3D manufacturing machines to the track. So they have an issue or a problem at the track, and within the scope of a 3D machine. They can 3D printing machine. They can produce a component to solve their problems. And reliability is paramount. You get no points for not finishing. And so reliability is the first key objective in Formula One, both from a performance and safety perspective. So the teams would never consider running a car that had a major reliability problem. They react immediately. And you know, that certainly within Europe and the closer races, planes zapping back and forward with components is almost normal. When we're away further distances, then we have to be more on our toes on what we can do. But the teams carry a lot of manufacturing capacity with them. They'll carry specialist materials. They'll carry a very comprehensive range of spares, and you know, they often have a good network of local specialists that they can call on if there's a problem. But that response rate is absolutely vital to be competitive. You lose a race because of a problem, that can lose you a championship. The other fascinating aspect about Formula One is pushing the boundaries of interpretation of the regulations and finding new interpretations to gain a performance advantage. So there's some fundamental constraints on a Formula One car. It has to weigh a certain amount, it has to be certain dimensions, and you know, those are simple constraints. But some of the other constraints are more complex, and the definition of what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do can always be tested. And every Formula One team in the pit lane is testing those boundaries. Our ultimate check was to seek an opinion from the governing body. In 2009, the team I had, we had a controversial interpretation of the underbody aerodynamics, the so-called double diffuser. And one of the strengths, when it was challenged by the other teams, is we'd walked the governing body through every aspect of that double diffuser. So it wasn't a surprise to them. When the teams came in and said, we don't like that, they knew why we'd come to the conclusion we'd come to and why we felt it was legal, and taken them through every step to why it was legal. So they felt very comfortable with the idea being challenged because they'd understood the principles. And eventually we, even though the idea was protested, it was rejected by the appeal court and we won the case. And whilst you can never be 100% confident, we'd gone through the whole process. It wasn't just luck.
By partnering with Insight Ignite, you can gain insights and also access to technology globally that's going to help accelerate your digital transformation. By partnering with the series of Formula One and also teams in Formula One, you can actually leverage the Formula One platform to elevate your digital products and services and ultimately your digital brand.